Welcome to On Block Off Block by AeroCloud. On Block Off Block explores the exciting and ever-growing aviation industry with guests working in and with airports, and is hosted by AeroCloud CEO George Richardson.
In this episode, George speaks to Skyler Logsdon, the CEO and co-founder of lost and found tech company Boomerang, about Skyler's journey in building multiple successful startups, the personal pain of losing high-value items in airports and Boomerang's solution, and the similarities Skyler sees between competitive sports and enterprise business.
So, Skyler, I remember the first time I met you at PTE one year, and I'm thinking that it was around 2021. I'm not too sure. You'd literally just started and wanted to meet about how we could potentially work together as a sort of channel partner. And I remember thinking how different you were and also relatable at the same time. Because for me, the community that I've been selling into and growing my business through has been really part of the struggle because of my age and my experience in this sector. So it was great to meet you. Since then, we've connected multiple times, and you've kindly said that you'd come on our podcast. So you're the founder of the best-in-class lost and found technology platform called Boomerang. Banging name, by the way. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Recently now a scale-up and winner of the Airport de Roma Innovation Prize, Boomerang is collecting and returning over $400K of lost item value every single month, growing with customers like the UBS Arena as multiple non-airport customers and huge advocate airport customers like Syracuse Airport, amongst many others. Welcome to the On Block Off Block podcast, Skyler.
George, thank you for having me. It's great to see you. And yeah, I remember, the first time we met, and I felt like we were cut from the same cloth, just living in different ponds. Like you are, a former athlete, and I think when athletes have something in common of like, I knew you were playing pissed off. I knew you were playing to win big. And I think that's probably one of the most common similarities I saw amongst each other. Like, hey, you're here to shake the room. You're here to run through walls, and like, you don't take no for answers. No means not now. And like, it's the same thing for me. And as soon as I met you, I was like, he's going to go far. Like, AeroCloud is here to stay. And like, the industry is, they're going to get on board because like, he's going to outdo everybody in his industry. And I think that's just kind of my personality as well of like, Boomerang is going to be the number one way to recover a lost item. We're going to become the open table, the Shazam, the category leader where you don't think of anything else other than boom, if you ever lose an item. So man, great to see 100%. You on.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one thing that I remember thinking that you did really, really well as well is that, that the sort of athlete background and you are one of the best networkers I've met, right? Your phone book is truly enviable, right? And you're clearly providing a lot of value to these very enviable contacts. And we can go into some of them that invested in your company later on, but you'd been over visiting a Premier League footballer in the UK. You were visiting, I think we met in either Paris or Amsterdam. I'm not 100% sure which PTE conference was. It's all a little bit of a blur building AeroCloud for me in the last 5 years, and I'm sure the same thing for you. But what's the real key to building that network, and how are you able to maintain it as well, because that's a job in itself?
Yeah, I think I've always loved people. Like, I'm really interested in people, and I think a common feedback that I get from people is like, I ask a lot of questions, and that's because I'm so interested and far more interested than telling people about myself. Like, I want to know, how did they get here? What motivates them? What's their daily routines? Like, I'm all ears always. And I think I'm just very curious about people, and like, really successful people inspire me. Like, it doesn't mean monetarily of like, oh, if you're a billionaire, like, I got questions for you, but if you don't have billions, I don't have questions for you. That's not the case.
One of the things I always remember thinking about myself was that if I ever went round to like other kids' houses, I'd spend like half an hour speaking to their parents. Like, right. I was always the weird kid that was super interested in like what people were doing for a living from as early as I could remember, right? And that just singular drive to understand, I suppose, is what you're referring to there. And I'm sure those people in your network continue to bring other good people into your network as well, because that's the whole law of attraction thing that we all sign up to, right? Whether it's formalized or not.
It's compounding. Like, I'll hit up people and say like, hey, I'm in London for 3 days. Like, any awesome people I should meet? And like, awesome people know other awesome people. And then they're like, oh, go connect with my buddy here. And you meet that person and you're like, wow, what an incredible story. Like, it just starts to compound. Then you go back to that friend's like, man, your friend so-and-so was awesome. And like, great. Like, so glad you guys know each other. Like, let's all link up together next time. We're all in the same city together. So great.
Yeah,
people,
100%.
great people. And it just compounds on top of each other.
Yeah, I love that. Right. Okay. Well, let's get into some questioning. One of the questions I'd like to ask leaders is, what is it about large and complex problems that you like solving?
It takes bravery. Like, joining Google, joining Facebook, joining a large company was just never of interest for me or to me. Like, I want to solve something that like I had to grapple with. I want to solve something that's never been done before. And I've always been interested in like doing the hard thing. The easy thing has just never really been attractive to me. And so if I look at my career, like I've only worked at startups. My parents have never known of the company that I was working on. Like, it was never a household name. Like that some I've built to a place where like, oh, it started to like become, really well known, or it's a very sizable company. And like seeing that feeling of like, Mom, I remember telling you like I'm going unpaid to start a company named Tatari with like the founder of Shazam. And in like 7-8 years, or they just turned 9 now. Like, yeah, now it's like a very massive business and like employs like hundreds of people across this country. Like, that is so cool to me that like she was trying to steer me away to go join like a LinkedIn or a Facebook or a Google because she was protective of me. She didn't want to see me potentially fail. But then once you do it, my mom's so proud. Like, she's so proud. I kind of had to show her of like, hey, no risk, no reward. And then so leaving Tatari to like go back and go do Boomerang again. She's like, why are you leaving? Like, you're doing so well. The company's massive. Like, you started it from the beginning, like employee number 1 to like, I think I left to like 290 employees. It was like 3 years ago. And she's like, why? But same thing. I had to show her of like, Mom, watch, I can do it again. Like, watch this. We're going to do it again. We're going to have Tatari booming. We're going to have Boomerang booming. Like, and I'm going to do it again after that too. Like, it is just the life that I'm choosing of courage. It's brave. And like, I'm swinging for the fences.
Sure. Do you ever wake up thinking, you've only got a limited amount left in you? Because sometimes I leave it all on the field, so to speak.
Yeah, what a question. I think if a founder gets burnt out, like companies are really, really at risk. And that's one of like the biggest challenges for us is like how to take care of yourself, like how to sleep well at night, how to make sure that like your body's not aching. Like at this age, I'm 33. Like I have 1 glass of wine a week maximum. Like most weeks I don't have anything to drink. Like I don't eat grains. I don't eat gluten. Like I go to the gym 7 days a week and I'm not even like jacked. You would never think that I go to the gym every day. Like I just like to move the body. Like on this weekend I played soccer. I played pickleball. Like I walked maybe 4 or 5 miles. Like you got to take care of yourself. And if you take care of yourself, like I shouldn't ever get to the point where I want to hang it up because I feel good. Like my energy feels good. I have 1 coffee a day. I'm not dependent on that. Like I'm just doing all the right things, like with nutrition and wellness, that I don't feel the stress, like because all my other kind of systems are in place.
Yeah, sure. I suppose that's a learning from, you're now on your 3rd sort of proper startup, right? You've had some major wins and some learnings as well, as have I, right? Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. Let's just go short history. So I can't pronounce the name, but in the notes is Zrix. Zrix? Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll share one before that. So my very first experience was software. I was 19 years old. I went to a school called Drexel University, and they have a program for entrepreneurship. Like it's an entire school for entrepreneurship, and they give you money to start ideas. And so it's called the Close School of Entrepreneurship. Like the founders at GoPuff were in my class. I think GoPuff's at like 12 billion now valuation. few other incredible founders were part of this school. And so my very first startup was a company called My Clips. It was a app to help people get better haircuts. Because what I learned is when I moved from a suburb of LA, where I'm from, to Philadelphia for university, I kept getting terrible haircuts. Like I would tell the barber what I wanted. I know I just buzzed my head, but usually I have like some hair on top of my head. I would tell the barber what I would want. Then he'd be like, yeah, for sure, for sure. And then he'd spin me around after, I'd be like, whoa, like what happened? And I would just wear a beanie for a couple weeks until the hair would grow back. And so I realized of like, I don't know how to talk about my haircut. I don't have images of my favorite haircut. This is like 2010 or 2011. And I was like, I need to get images and videos of my favorite haircut that I get at home from my barber so I could take that to school and show the barber exactly what I want. Simple solution, an app with all my favorite haircuts inside of it with notes from my barber. If I liked the haircut, I could share it out to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And so I ran that app all through school. It was a different college experience for me. Like I was on the whiteboard. I was dealing with engineers and designers and running a budget for 4 years. Like, yes, I did have some fun as well. Like, it wasn't all work. But that was my baby. I was guerrilla marketing. I was doing press. I was talking to reporters. I was running, campaigns online to acquire customers. I was being mentored from the founder of Shazam, Philip, all through college. So when it was time for graduation, I called Philip. I was like, man, what should I do after school? And he's like, do not go to a big company. Do not. Stay away. Like take as much risk as you can while you're young. You're not married. You don't have a mortgage. And he kind of, I say brainwashed, but in a good way. Like he told me the game of like, hey.
And what stage was Shazam at that point? Like how wealthy was he with his time at that point to give you the mentorship through that 4 years? Because that's a big commitment in itself. If he was on the start of his journey, where was that business?
Yeah. So Shazam started in 1997. Shazam used to be a phone number. You would call 2580, you would call Shazam, they would text you the name of the song for 99 cents. And so Philippe ran the company with his co-founders for, I think 8 years. Then he left. He left to start a company called TrueCar. At TrueCar, he took public via NASDAQ. He also, there are a few other companies that he was early at that had exits. So Philippe was out of Shazam, but he was still on the board for probably like 12 years at this point. Shazam was acquired by Apple for $400 million, but he was on the board all the way until exit, but he was not operational the last like 9 years of Shazam. So he was telling me of like, man, look at these. He sent me a list, like an Excel sheet of all these companies he invested in. And I was just poking around or companies he found interesting. And it was on-demand everything at this time, 2014, Silicon Valley. That's where Philippe lives in San Francisco. I'm looking at all these companies he's invested in. I remember typing in like Postmates, looking at their website for the first time, like typing Pinterest in and be like, wow, that's interesting. And I found this company called Zirx, Zirx. He invested in them. He hyperlinked the CEO's LinkedIn. So I was able to check out who was running the company. And the person running this company was a man named Sean Bayer. He started shopping.com, acquired by eBay for $660 million. He started Adapt TV. I think he was employee number 3 there, acquired by AOL for $40 million. I was like, wow, this guy's a killer. And so I asked for an introduction to Sean, and Philippe connected us. He's like, yeah, man, we just raised some pre-seed money. We're solving city parking. The city, you're an employee at KPMG, Deloitte, Wells Fargo, any of these big companies. They just give you parking spots for the executives. But all the other 500 employees are circling the blocks trying to find parking in the city. So imagine if you could just tell us where you want a valet agent to meet you right in front of your office. And we're timing you as you're commuting into the city. And we send a valet agent to meet you right in front of your company's office. Our valet agent has a scooter, folds it, puts it in the trunk, hops in the car, parks in our garage. While it's parked, your app turns into a shopping store. Do you want a car wash? Do you want an oil change? Do you want us to do your dry cleaning that you left in the back seat? And all that stuff could be getting done while you're just at work. And then let's say you go to dinner after with your employees and you're at dinner maybe 8 blocks down. Doesn't matter. Click the button and we'll bring your car right to your feet and off you go. So I joined them as employee number 7. It was their first sales hire. We went on to raise, I think, an $8 million Series A, a $30 million Series B. And like, that was my first experience of like, oh my gosh, like next thing you know, we're like launching 9 different cities across the US. We have a massive headquarters. You have meals and everyone's got gym memberships, and like every day you're hiring more employees, engineers that are leaving Facebook and Amazon. And I was closing enterprise deals, like as a 21-year-old, just making friends on LinkedIn, like adding HR teams at Facebook, at Deloitte, saying like, hey, I could solve your city parking. And I was closing really big deals for this company as like an unproven, I'd say, 21-year-old. Like I knew I was a hustler. I knew I like had 4 years of, I guess, like tech experience from college, but like I didn't really know that I was good at enterprise sales until there. Like it was a good product. I was able to get in front of people and realize of like, man, if it's a good solution, people will buy it. Like people were buying what I was going there by myself. I didn't show up with like an EVP above me who like I set up the meeting for. I was prospecting, closing, working with ops to like scale to it. That's why I learned like, like if you have a good product, like you can get in the door, people will buy a good product no matter what age you are or how old the company is.
Agreed. 100%. And that's basically been our life for the last 5 years, right?
That's right.
So I'm 33 as well. I have only recently just got a VP of sales at AeroCloud. I did all the early deals, pretty much end to end. I did have the help of sort of an SDR function, some great guys that are still at AeroCloud now, but they run total end to end still. I believe that people should be dealing with the same people all the way through the process and then hand it off to what we now have is customer success, for example.
That's
and
right.
I didn't know that term until like a year ago because I was doing that anyway for the business. So we've only just formalized it and sort of put a name on it. I don't think that naivety should be seen as a bad thing in startups anyway. Because I think that you've gone into a sector that's growing massively. You're selling into a vertical, the airports, which has done things the same way for a long time. And I think that you'd probably be put off if you looked at it on paper or spoke to a lot of people within the industry, right? And we've been successful into sort of growing our business. So then came Boomerang. So let's go there. Let's what is Boomerang to an airport? This is a podcast for airport IT ops guys, directors. What is the real key piece for them?
So when I tell Philippe that I want to leave Tatari, he goes, I have an idea for you, but if you use my idea, I'm your co-founder. I'm like, you got pretty good ideas. Like a lot of your ideas have ended up in like being worth hundreds of millions. Like, what's this idea? He's like, the Shazam of lost and found. Have you ever lost something? I'm like, yeah, I lost something at TSA at LAX. It was my watch. And I got to my gate. I was like, oh my gosh, where's my watch? Ran back to TSA. They gave me a little phone number to call. I called that phone number. I called it every single day for like 30 straight days. They never found my watch. You just have that taste in your mouth of like, someone stole it. Someone took it, either a traveler behind me or in front of me or an agent. But someone is wearing a really nice watch right now. And like you could watch a camera and you could probably figure out who that person is if you wanted to turn on that camera and see which one of the employees or travelers. There's a camera shining right on down to the TSA operation usually. So you could watch it. And he's like, yeah, wait until you have kids. My 2 kids, every time we travel, they lose something. It's a very high frequent flyer mile at his preferred airline. He's like, it doesn't matter how many miles I have. They just give me a phone number. I have to call them and a follow-up on follow-up. You never find the item. And so we start looking more at the problem. We realize that there's $5 billion spent every year rebuying lost items, $5 billion. But 86% of all lost items, they're lost at businesses. Businesses are the problems. And if you look at the lion's share of where the items are lost, it's airports, it's airlines, it's shopping.
So it was the data that drove that decision, right?
Oh, yeah. Like you want to become the world's number one item recovery, but all the data is saying of like, hey, start with the businesses. They are the problem. Yes, there's 10 million dogs lost in the street every year. There's about 70 million cell phones lost a year. But the majority of all the lost items are sitting at businesses because a business finds an item like an airport before a Boomerang, they just throw it in a box, answer tons of phone calls and emails every day, try their best potentially to find the item in a box. Then they have to email back saying, Is this your iPhone? Screenshot. Customer goes, no, that's not my iPhone. Oh, sorry. Oh, that is my iPhone. Now the whole shipping thing. Do you pay for a label? Do I pay for a label? Regardless who's going to email a label, a tracking number, it could take you 7, 8, 10, 2 weeks to get back an item. So that was where the idea came is, get all these businesses on board with Boomerang. Get them to find, go ahead.
Yeah, no. And what's phenomenal really about listening to that and the people listening hopefully to this podcast would be that like the main driver actually at an airport is passenger experience. The more and more I look at it, like I try and do my sales narrative fit on better revenue adoption, efficiency on revenue, efficiency on turnaround, efficiency on passenger processes, etc., etc. And I go through them all. But the fact of the reality is that an airport wants to deliver exceptional customer service. They're most of the time in your country, in the US, not necessarily always in Europe, but they're federally owned. And you will very often see in their offices missions around delivering excellent passenger service or excellent contributions to local economy, et cetera, et cetera. And that it just aligns. The whole mission aligns.
That's right. That's right. Tell me, how many items do you think a large international airport collects per month?
I think this would be great to do a little survey of my 70 customers, right? We have now maybe 50 or 60 customers in the US. It would be great. We should do a collab and email out, but I'm going to go with 1 in 25 people lose something. 400,000 a year items for a 10 million airport.
So some could be at the rental car companies. Some could be at
Most recently, I lost a Gilet at a rental car company.
So if you look at what the airport manages, it's usually some airports take over TSA's inventory. They say, guys, you're not really passionate about the customer like we are. Give us that inventory, even though it's going to significantly increase our amount of items that we're holding on to. But a large international airport in the US could collect upwards of 10,000 items a month in lost and found. But then each airline is also collecting significant volume as well. Then the parking garage operator will have their own lost and found. It's so fragmented. Then Uber and Lyft, people leave things inside of the rideshare companies, the metros at the airports, the buses, retailers. It's so fragmented, and every business just does whatever they want to do with those items. So with Boomerang, we want to go partner with all of them, say, hey, everyone upload what you found on Boomerang. You come to us, you tell us which company you lost your item at. Could be potentially a few companies that you think you lost your item at. Our technology will search. Oh, there it is. It's with the airport. Email you saying your item's been found. Would you like it shipped? Or would you like to come pick it up? Oh, you want to come pick it up? Here's the instructions where to go. Take your Boomerang ID. Oh, you want it shipped? Great. We're integrated with everybody. Pay for your own shipping label. We'll generate the shipping label. We give it to the airport. They hit print and they throw the item in a box. Off it goes to the customer.
So how many airports are Boomerang at now?
So I think for this year, we're approaching our 10th airport. We just won one on Friday that I can share. Richmond International Airport just joined us.
Virginia, right?
Yeah, exactly. We also won the week prior Roma. So it's been a joy to work with airports. I think, investors and maybe other founders may, like you mentioned earlier, be like, oh, you don't want to sell into government. The too long of sales cycles. There's not enough money there. They're not innovative. Like it's been for me, and I think for you, I'm loving it. I think these are some of the best people. I've built quality friendships, just like I know you and your team has. I find the appetite for innovation, very positive here. I think they want
100%.
to automate tedious tasks. I think they want to do right by their travelers. They want to compete. And I think there's network effects. I think when the first batch of airports like you and I have gotten, there's a tipping point. Yeah, maybe first X amount are super, super, super hard. But once you build your case studies, once you show that hey, it's working, it's working really well, the rest of the airports follow. And then that pushes pressure on the airlines. Luckily for us, we don't just do business with airports. I mean, we're powering some of the best sports venues. Some of the venues can collect more items than the airports.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting, I think we both found is that it's got an infectious community. And I think that, so I didn't have necessarily an aviation background. I studied the market for about 7 years before I got into it. But what I found was if you do a really good job by one, there's a high recommendation and referral rate. And I think you're seeing that too now. I mean, I've met a couple of your customers at a conference I was at about a month ago, and they're just completely wax lyrical about the platform. And therefore, they must be waxing lyrical to other airport directors consistently. And it's something that's completely tangible. And like you say, I think these serial operators at airports, even though they are federal employees, which sometimes get a little bit of a bad name in the US, that they deeply care about their airport. I found that to be a very common running theme in every ICP that we target at Aerocloud, and that they really deeply care about their local economy. And I do a speech internally, or it's called a town hall. I'm sure you have a similar thing for our employees, and we're sort of 60 employees spread across the world. And one of the slides is around economic impact of an airport. And it's effectively just the spillover effect if an airport is successful, or a recent win that we've just had is successful, there'll be a uplift in education, there'll be an uplift in medical, there'll be an uplift in local business revenue, there'll be an uplift in local economy, GDP, etc., etc. They're super important. And I think they're very often overlooked. So if you can help deliver a better experience so people fly more times out of Richmond versus whatever the next closest one is, by having a better service to the passengers overall experience, you're helping general economy.
Completely agree. For us, like when the reviews that we're getting, when you get someone back something that was high value or just sentimental, like giving our customers the flowers that they deserve of like, hey, you could have snagged that wallet filled with cash. Like you did the right thing at Savannah. Savannah hired the right person. Like, and you grabbed your iPad and you took a photo of that and you uploaded it to Boomerang and you saw that claim come in. Our technology did the match for you. You hit approve and you packaged that thing up, and someone got back their wallet with the exact dollar amount. Like, and then they write this incredible review, and forwarding that on over to our team of like, here's your flowers. Like, you are high integrity. Like,
yeah, I see that all the time. Genuinely, I think like the airport community, or the people that work there, airport communities are some of the proudest people of their job. And airports have had a struggle, right? And you'll see the difference between European airports and American airports. Like before COVID, it was very common for ground handlers, check-in attendants, etc., to do 20 years of service. Then COVID in Europe really put an end to that. And airports have had a job in attracting talent back to work for them and with them again. In the US, it's been slightly different. It's very, very frequent that I'll meet somebody who's been at the airport for 25 years.
That's right.
It's phenomenal. And I love that. And I bet that gets circulated internally, because they do an awful lot of sharing internally, a lot of employee appreciation stuff. And that's a theme that runs throughout all commercial service airports in the US, I find. And I can see that how Boomerang can form part of that, and also give them all like a big G up to deliver even better customer service. So that's fantastic.
I always think about like how to help this person's year in review. Like, what ammo could we give our clients to like go get that promotion that you want, get that pay raise? Like, let us give you all the data to show that like you're crushing it. Like, let us sum up all the reviews that even called out your name of like so-and-so from so-and-so was the best. Like, you take that review and you go get yours when it comes for like annual pay increases. So yeah, that's something that we think a lot about, of like how to make our clients all-stars, like how to be their best friend when it comes to that talk with their boss of how are things going.
Yeah, I love that. So as we near the sort of close of the questioning here, we're running up on time here. What do you think sport and business has in common? I know that you've got a lot of big name sports investors. For example, you were a sports person yourself. What do you think are the similarities between sports and building a business like this?
I think with sports and business, like, you have to do the work. You cannot be a great race car driver, a great football player, like, without putting in the work. Like, it eventually will catch up to you. You've seen these people that were born with some raw talent. And if they don't work hard, people just eventually catch up and then start doing laps around them. So you have to work hard, and you have to be committed, and you have to have discipline. And I think if you don't have discipline in business and you don't work hard, you just won't go very far. And I think at our age now, you're starting to see the people that lack discipline fall behind, or lack work ethic fall behind, and the people that have discipline and work ethic start to really launch. And really, there's separation now. And so I find that very similar to sports. You've seen that person that like, where did that person come from? Suddenly they're great at what they're doing. Like, you used to be so much better than them when you guys were kids. Well, they like put their heads down and they worked really hard, and like now they're actually like elite at their craft. I think from a leadership perspective, like there's so many different types of personalities in sports. If you're a soccer player or if you're a race car driver, like you have so many different people all around you that are part of the same team. And like, I'm sure it's the same with you at your company. Like, you don't hire all the same people. I don't want to hire a bunch of mini Skylers. Like, I want people that are diverse, that are like smart in areas that I'm not. Like, hey, I can cover this base here, but like, I need you to help me out covering these things, and learning how to work with people that are different than you, but to achieve the common goal, I think is super similar. At football, you have a wide receiver who's a really different personality than the lineman, who's a really different personality than the head coach, who like, coaches the players all in this one way that's very rah potentially, or like just, at your neck, like, just constantly yelling at you. But like, the way that I can inspire my people will be in a different approach than that. The last thing I think is it's a game of momentum. And like, as a CEO, I think it's our job to keep the energy high, keep the temperature of the room, the temperature that we want. I like to say, like, be the thermometer, not the thermostat. Make sure you're setting the temperature where you want it to be. This is
appropriately.
Yep,
all the time.
Exactly. This is your room. This is your team. This is your company culture. Like, if there's complaints about the company culture, who's that on? It's you. Like, it started from the top. Like, so you have that control. Same at a football team. If you say, like, oh, our team's just broken, everyone's arguing with each other, where's leadership? What's leadership doing? It starts up there. And so that's one of my most favorite parts of running a company, is like keeping the energy high, keeping the optimism high, keeping the vision clear. Like, that's on us. And it's the same thing that's important to do in sports.
So we asked Philippe what to ask you. And he said, what do you want to be known for when you die? I thought that was a cool question.
Yeah, I think something that I'm very passionate about, that I think a lot of my time goes towards, but only people that are close know that, because they hear that I'm doing something like this every day. It's mentorship. Like, my life was changed by meeting Philippe. Like, my dad works construction. Like, my dinner conversations are not very sophisticated growing up. I wasn't well traveled. I didn't know anyone in Silicon Valley. Like, Philippe completely changed my trajectory. And like, what I can do other than just being grateful for him and letting him know is like, send the elevator down for other people. And so a lot of my time goes towards like coaching 10-year-old football, like texting my 10-year-old players, like, when they have stuff going on at the household, like things that are outside of football, just like parents getting divorced or a dad going to rehab. Like, these are things, helping a kid get a therapist, like, and covering the cost for it. Like, I really enjoy helping others and helping, people. It's a tough world. It's a hard world. And like, we got to be tough. We setting up the kids with resources of like, to win in life and to be healthy, and to have a role model for like, even just like my relationship with alcohol, of like letting the kids know of like, you don't have to drink. It's not normal. Like, it's normal. I grew up, I thought everyone drank, like, because that's all that I saw adults do. And so like, I take that as like a chance to show kids, like, not everyone drinks. Like, not everyone eats pizza. I don't eat pizza. Why? When they ask why, I'm like, oh, because it like bogs me down. Like, and so a lot of my time goes towards, trying to mentor other people, not just younger kids in sports, but entrepreneurs that want to raise their first dollar, entrepreneurs that are having founder conflicts, like people that want to break into tech that are currently, a police officer. Like, this stuff excites me. I just want to be known and have that be part of my legacy of like, give back, send the elevator down, help others.
It's crazy that you're thinking that I didn't expect you to answer that in so much detail, but it's crazy that we think. I do a lot of thinking about that, given that we're only 33 years old. But I did read something recently that if you don't actually forward look and you don't actually think about these sorts of things, then effectively you'll get to a certain age and you think, oh shit, why haven't I done that before? Or why haven't we considered that? Or why do I not do that right now. And I suppose like investment in almost like a pension, you call it fonke, right? It's about investing in intangible things for the medium term to long term. So yeah, I love that. Final couple of questions. You're at airport conference, I believe it's ACI. I'm not too sure if my guys are there. Actually, I think they might even be in the same room with you today. What do you think could be disrupted with technology that maybe isn't being considered in aviation, in airports, ground handlers, check-in, airline? Have you seen anything that takes your fancy that you can share?
Gosh, what a question. I wasn't prepared for that one. You and I travel a lot. We're constantly on planes. Something that I think a lot about is loyalty points of like, sometimes Delta is not the best route or time for me. And then you have to jump to another airline. You're like, oh, I don't get any points with that airline though. I'm still flying though. Like, why am I not getting any points towards anything? And so this whole points thing and loyalty thing, I wonder if a company will ever solve that. Like, I know there's the clustering of some airlines where it all serves under one world or something, but I think there's more to go there. I think clustering hotel loyalty of like, you check into a Marriott and they're like, oh, do you have Marriott Bonvoy? I'm like, yeah, but I don't always stay at Marriott. There's not always one right next to me, or the conference has a discounted rate at this one. I don't get any points now for this 3-night stay at this other hotel that's not part of Bonvoy. So I think loyalty and points, I think, there's more to go there. And I could imagine less kind of dead points or dead purchases that aren't earning you anything.
Sure. Good. Love it. Okay. And if people wanted to get in touch, what's the best way to get you?
Skyler at thanksboomerang.com. Send me a note on LinkedIn. Skyler Logsdon is my handle there.
Perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. As you said, where we say over here, and I'm sure we'll grab a beer at some point. And thank you for being such a good guest and sharing your words of wisdom. And hopefully, your words of wisdom can be of value to somebody. And thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Pleasure was mine. Have a wonderful night, man. I'll see you soon.
Perfect.
Bye, George.
Thank you for listening to On Block, Off Block by AeroCloud. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, and remember to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with future episodes. On Block, Off Block is hosted by George Richardson and produced by Alex Greaves.